Shout for me, I'm proud to glow.
Hey, what is going on, people? It's Vinh from VTech and welcome to YouTube University. Today's lesson is going to be about how to get that cinematic look. This is just what I believe, but there are multiple ways to do anything. There's no right or wrong way. But the first thing I want to address is color theory. I want you guys to understand the reason why you're color grading. The reason for me to color grade is to enhance certain features in the scene. Color grading should help you tell your story instead of masking over it. Most of the time, a lot of people starting out color grading tend to overdo it a little bit. I see a lot of people just bring their saturation up, bring their contrast up, and then have their whole footage look like orange and teal. There's a certain time and place for everything. I personally think it looks a little bit unprofessional when people overdo it. Personally, I like that seamless look and I don't want the viewer to think too much about it. I want it to look almost natural in a way, but you know that the colors are not natural. That's not how they look in real life. It's kind of like a nice seasoned steak. If you put too much sauce on it,
There's too much sauce.
which is color grading. If you put too much color grading onto your footage, if you put too much barbecue sauce on your steak, you mask the flavor of the steak. You get what I'm saying? Now let's bring back when I said there's a time and place for everything. You really don't want to color grade all of your footage the exact same way. Some scenes may look better all contrasty and very punchy in colors, but other scenes may look better a little bit toned down. I don't like it when people just throw on color grading to kind of make up for their video. Use color grading to enhance your film, not cover it up. Okay, now that color theory's out of the way, let's talk about what software to use. I believe most of us use Adobe Premiere Pro and Final Cut. I don't know too much about Final Cut, but there are some plugins to help you with color grading. You can't really do too much with the default options. But on the Premiere side, we have Lumetri Color. I think it's really easy to use. It's a little bit daunting at first, but let's head into the computer. Okay, so once you've fired up Premiere Pro, let's take one clip and drag it into the timeline. I'll take this one. So let's see what the shot looks like before anything happens. As you can see here, it's a sliding shot and it already kind of looks cinematic, but we can make it better. So up here, you'll see a tab called Color. I want you to click on that and boom, Lumetri Color should open. Here's the first mistake. You see this contrast slider right here and the saturation slider right here. People tend to jump on that a little bit too quick, get a little bit too antsy and just pull it all the way up. It looks way too saturated and it looks so unnatural. And people are gonna know. I know I'm kind of exaggerating this, but let's just tone it down a little bit. I personally don't even like touching the contrast bar at all until maybe the very end. And saturation wise, yeah, it looks really flat like initially, but let's add a little bit of color just so we can see what we're working with. Let's go with 150. Starting with the saturation slider really helps you see what colors and tones you are affecting. The slider I like to adjust next is the blacks, and this makes it look really cinematic. It kind of adds a natural contrast already. Now, we don't want to go too far or else it'll look like this. Remember the steak, just add it very seasonally. So instead of pushing it all the way, let's just push it a little bit and see where we like it. Around right here seems good. Let's go with -25. That looks good to me. This slider gives you guys much deeper blacks, but you can also adjust the shadows. Now the shadow slider also affects the blacks, but it affects all the shadows. So all of the darker tones and the darker colors are gonna be decreased or increased from this slider. I usually like to bring down the shadows just a little bit. Let's go with 10. You don't wanna overdo it, remember that. To make it look really dynamic and punchy, we're gonna mess with the whites. So don't drag it all the way, that looks actually overexposed. So we're gonna go with something, just a small amount. Let's just go with 10. 10 seems good. I already have the white balance pretty spot on the way I like it, so I'm not gonna mess with the temperature and tint. A lot of people just tend to use the temperature slider, so if they slide it to the right, all your footage looks pretty yellow. If you slide it to the left, all of your footage looks really blue. So we're not gonna touch that, we're gonna go to the color wheels. So I know a lot of people like that orange and teal kind of look, so let's go ahead and mess with the midtones. Put a little bit orange, just a little bit. Oh, added too much. Just a little bit. Can you guys see that? And we're gonna make the shadows a little bit blue and teal, just a little, just to give it a little bit of balance. I personally don't like touching the highlights. It kind of makes everything look really weird. Check this out. See? I don't really like that. It kind of affects everything, so I usually don't touch that. So the next thing I like to add is this faded film look right here. If you really want that cinema look, just put it to like 25% and you should be good to go. Okay, so now let's play it all back. Now this is just one way to do it. There are many, many ways. Everyone does it differently, but this is the way I like to do it, and I think it's really easy to understand. Make sure that there's a reason why you're doing something. The reason why I made it look a little bit contrasty is because I really want to bring out the wood. I think this looks great the way this is color graded, but I want you guys to have your own artist's intent. So once again, I want you guys to color grade to enhance, not to cover up. And let's go back to the camera. And that's about all you really needed to know about how to get that cinematic look. Comment down below, show me your color grades. I'd love to see what you guys make. Drop a like if you thought this video was helpful, subscribe for more crispy content, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.